Hello, good evening. Welcome to the live stream. It's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to all you early birds who are here from the start. Nice to see all of you. Hopefully you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can't hear me or if there's any technical problems. It is a very very hot and steamy night here in London town. It must be like 30 odd degrees, and there was a massive rainstorm earlier on, which was lovely. I got caught out in the rain and it was just really sort of really refreshing. I think after about 2 weeks of the same relentless weather, it's just really nice to have something brand new. But now I live just 2 minutes from the forest, so when it rains and then gets hot, the water just steams off the leaves in a really beautiful way, but in a way that's kind of like a bit. So welcome along, welcome to the live stream. So let me give you the rundown of what this is all about and how I'm doing it. Some of you will be aware that I am making the decision to go down to one video every 2 weeks now, but I'll kind of make that video like really good and in depth and better, which is why there was no new episode today. Today is the first Friday I've had off in like 5 years. I mean, I say I've had a Friday off. I'm here doing this with you, so I guess it's not, it's still kind of not really work, is it though? But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And then I felt a little bit sad. The one thing that I felt really good about going down to one video every 2 weeks, and the scripts I've got and the stuff I'm working on, I'm really excited about. But one thing I felt I was going to miss was the comment reply videos, because I really like doing those. And funnily enough, I was talking to a friend of mine who's out in California, a PhD researcher in online harassment. And she was saying, it's really interesting how you've chosen to do comment replies. Like, tell me about that. Like, has it helped you create a positive community around your channel? And I was like, oh, maybe it has in a certain way. So I thought maybe something that would be fun to do is to do comment replies and kind of AMAs and take questions and so on as a kind of regular live stream. I don't know how regular. We'll see how it goes. But I thought maybe, and it would be a chance because, when I do the comment reply videos, they're only like 10 minutes long. I thought it might be nice to go into a bit more depth and then you can sort of see behind the scenes and you can know what, not just the feedback I got from you, but what my notes were to self about the episodes I made. Notes to self is we used to say that in drama school all the time. So yeah, hi, howdy, hey, all the people in the chat. Hey, good to see you. Hi from Malaysia, 30 degrees is normal. Oh no, anything over 10 degrees Celsius and I melt. I can't deal with it. I lived in Scotland for 4 years. I'm from the north. I can't really take it. But yeah, welcome along. Glad you can all hear it, and glad it's all going really well. I'll probably take some questions from the chat a little bit later on, and from Twitter and anyone else who's got them. People are very thirsty in the chat. It's probably the heat. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so comment replies. Recently, I did a video called "Why the Left Will Win," which is about communities of strength versus communities of vulnerability. There should be a link to it down in the description if you've missed it. And yeah, overall, I was quite. I suppose initially I was quite surprised by the feedback to that episode. Initially, I was just surprised by how well it did in terms of numbers, because I made that episode. I mean, yeah. So basically, I had 2/3 of the script, the communities of strength versus community of vulnerability stuff. And I was having a conversation with someone else in California at VidCon. And I was like, oh, I really want to do a video on this, but it's not kind of finished yet. And they were like, that sounds really interesting. That sounds cool. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess I'll just like make it. So I just made the video. It was and that's why it's a little bit shorter than usual, and why it only had 2 parts. And I thought, whilst I'm working on the stuff I'm filming in a professional film studio, which is kind of the big sort of relaunch of the show. Well, not like relaunch, but like Philosophy Tube season 2 starting next week, filming in a professional studio and so on. I was like, while I'm working on this, I'll have this to just like be something in the release schedule. But it absolutely blew up, and it did really, really well. And at the moment, it's got like 70,000 views or something, which was a lovely surprise. So that was interesting, and it got a lot of really, really positive feedback from some people, which was also cool. And I was like, oh, that's really good, and that makes me feel nice. But at the same time, I was aware that video, like, well, it wasn't like necessarily my best work. Like, I stand by it and I'm happy with it, but it's not the thing I'm most proud of out of everything I've made. But it did get a really positive feedback. So I was like, okay, this is nice, but I may be in a bit of danger of like an echo chamber here, because people were really, really positive about it. Another thing that people found as well, which I hadn't considered at all, is that a lot of people said that because the tone of that video was really, really positive, they said a lot of people said like, oh, I really needed this. It's really nice to have some positive leftist content. I was like, oh, okay. I hadn't really thought of that, to be honest. I just kind of made it, but I was really happy and glad that people got that out of it, and felt that it was sort of optimistic and fun. And it did make me think about the tone of my videos. I had thought that video was kind of a little bit sentimental. I'm being harsh, but sentimental's harsh. Like maybe romantic, capital R romantic. But in fairness, I think that when my videos do get like that, I think I do it like reasonably well, because I can do sort of romance and sentiment fairly well. I'm quite like a capital R romantic person in real life, especially since having gone to drama school. You know, I'm like open to those sorts of flights of fancy, like talking about the thunderstorm earlier on and how beautiful it was. You know, so some of the future videos I've got are kind of retain a little bit of that capital R romantic tone, because I think it's kind of fun and interesting, but at the same time, kind of making sure I sort of stay rigorous with it as well. So yeah, those were kind of a few of my thoughts to self. And in terms of the tone, there was a reply video made to it by Dr. Lehman. And normally I don't watch reply videos. Normally I absolutely swear off them, because a couple of years ago I did a video on the philosophy of gender, which I won't name them, but a particular YouTuber replied to it and even did it as a collab. And it was one of those replies that was like absolutely pwned leftist and so on. And they didn't watch all of my video, and I know they didn't because they actually brought up arguments in their reply that I had already mentioned. So I could even like pinpoint, I know they didn't watch beyond this point in the video, and my comments were just filled with awful things for days. So after that, I was just like, no more reply videos. I'm never watching them again. But I'm glad I did on this occasion, because yeah, Dr. Lehman had my number. He also picked up on the kind of capital R romantic nature of it, which was a kind of fair criticism. I think he thought there could have been more empirical exploration of psychology, which is fair. Like some of that shaded into like, why didn't you make the video I wanted you to make, which is always interesting. It's always interesting to hear how other people would have approached the same topic. But I think part of my motivation for making that video, I mean, I was on cloud nine when I got back from VidCon, and had a wonderful, inspiring time, and was big capital R romantic moods, capital R, capital M romantic moods. And I made that video, and I kind of, and that, I think that sort of reflected in the content. And I think part of my motivation for making it was that Stacey Gifford-Simplican, who wrote I don't think it's around here somewhere, who wrote the book that inspired that video, does say a lot of stuff in her book, but I did find the distinction between vulnerability and community, I did find it to be really like genuinely moving and beautiful, and I wanted to share it. So I think the video was probably more a little bit of a broad romantic sweep, and kind of a bit more like a work of art, I guess. Like hey, does this chime with you, rather than this is my serious political take. I'm getting more and more interested in like politics as art and art as politics. Especially the more protests I go to, the more I get interested in the art of politics, because I notice protest signs a lot, and I'm interested in like the slogans people use, and how some people have very sort of wordy, exact slogans like policy XYZ, do that, and then some people will have like a picture of a person. In fact, at the anti-Trump protest, there was a guy who had this amazing sign. On one side, it was the car salesman meme, and it was Donald Trump and Theresa May, and it was like, Donald Trump slaps roof of cage, this bad boy can fit so many human rights violations in it. Which I found interesting, like not only as a condemnation of immigrations and customs enforcement in America, but also like as a kind of signaling of the in-group. It's kind of like the fact that he knows the meme is like looking for other people who know it. But the flip side of that was an even more obscure meme, which was just the goddamn reptiles, and then a ContraPoints logo. And I was like, that's brilliant. Took a picture of it. So I'm interested in kind of science as art. And when Bad Mouse and I went to the May Day parade, he really, I didn't really, but he spoke to the people who carry banners of Stalin in the May Day parade, and said, can you tell us, like, I'm asking good faith, like, why do you have banners of Stalin? And they explained it to us, and some of them had a much more artistic take on it as well. And I was like, interesting. So I'm kind of interested in like art as politics, and I read an amazing book a while ago called Changing Anarchism, which was kind of talking about anarchist protest as street theatre. In fact, during the Trump protest, it was called a carnival of resistance, is what they said. This is the carnival of resistance. I was like, So yeah, there's some, and I think that's reflected not only in the video I made, Why Will the Left Win, but also like some of the videos I've got coming forward have more like characters in. Well, not yeah. Well, so I guess I can segue into talking about like some of the future stuff I have planned for the show. I've got a video that's more or less written about Elon Musk. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed that. It's kind of about Elon Musk and counterculture and backlash and so on, and capitalism, obviously, good fun. Cheeky bit of capitalist analysis in there. And sorry, there's a big car going past the window. You might have heard it. And that video contains like an actual character and like a performance character. Because I created this character while I was at drama school, and I never got the chance to use him. He's based on Pontius Pilate, who I coincidentally ended up playing in a play not long after I left drama school. But I realized when I was writing the Elon Musk, I was like, oh, I never got to use the Pontius Pilate character in drama school. And I was like, oh, what if I brought him back? That might be fun. So yeah, that's kind of like what I have planned for the future. That's fun. Musk can drag himself into space and stay there, says somebody. Someone says drag Elon Musk. I mean, a lot of people want me to just drag Elon Musk in the video. I don't think I'm going to be honest. I thought about it, and then I was like, maybe it's kind of a bit easy because, like, I don't know. You don't go and watch Lindsay Ellis because she takes the piss out of Michael Bay. Like, you go for the ideas. So I was like, I'm not really interested in Elon Musk, the man. I'm more interested in like what he is as a cultural symbol. Somebody says the real question is why are you growing out your hair? I wasn't aware that I was. I actually got it cut a while ago. But no, it's probably just because I had a shower. Probably just because the rain and the humidity in the atmosphere is elongated muskrat. As oh, hi Nat. Hi. Welcome to the chat. I'm scrolling up and seeing you now. Nice to have you here. Welcome. Goddamn reptiles. Welcome along. Nice to have you here. The man, the myth, the Musk. Somebody says, what state are you in? Tiredness. That's the main one. There you go. So here we go. Somebody says, do you have a video on how to handle depression? Yes, and at the same time, a huge resounding no. I'm working on, and I tell you because you're in the live stream and you're the really keen beans. I'm working on a script at the moment which is about mental illness and who gets to decide what a mental illness is, and suicide and suicidality, and that the script itself is certainly very depressing. I have had some big old cries writing this because that gets real personal. Yeah, so yes, that video is coming. I really want to make it. I think it's important, not only for kind of like the discourse, but for myself to make that. And it's something people have been asking me to make a video on for a long time. So I'm excited to do it. What's the rate limiting factor, as a chemist would say, the thing that's holding it back at the moment, is I'm trying to get some specific copyrighted music for it. For 2 songs from a band I really, really like, 2 songs that have helped me through some sad times. So I really want to include those in the video and without giving too much away, have them really be the kind of the climax of the video. So if I can get those songs licensed, because I got in touch with their manager, excuse me, I got in touch with their manager who said it would be £1,000 to license them both, and I was like, I can't afford that. So I'm in touch now with the main guy in the band, and we're gonna see whether we can get that licensed. But yeah, we'll see. Italian Elon Musk. That was a funny Twitter account. It's gone the it's gone the way of the dodo now, I think. Weird coincidence. People are asking me all the awesome questions. Somebody says thoughts on open borders. So coincidentally, just before I was doing this, I was writing an episode on airport security. Originally I was just going to just talk about airport security, but the more I research it, the more I realize that airport security is really linked to how we think about borders and how we think about terrorism as well. So that I'm not quite sure what the video's title is going to be, but the question I started with was, when will airport security go back to normal? And acknowledging that there is no normal, but just because I remember it being a lot more lax when I was younger. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to talk about that. And actually, I'm hoping, so I'm going to be in an airport on Sunday, various airports on Sunday for about 11 hours. I am going on a trip on Sunday. And I'm hoping to actually vlog some stuff in the airport, as long as it don't throw me out. Just some little things that I can cut in and out of the video. So yeah, that's going to be fun. So there are going to be some thoughts on borders coming in the future. Radical Bacon asks, I'm wondering how philosophy has influenced your acting. Well, certainly being able to read and digest texts, and in particular to read texts quickly and get to the bottom of them quickly, has been a major help. So you are currently sitting, you are propped up on a big volume of the complete works of Shakespeare and 2 textbooks on metaphysics, appropriately enough. So being able to read texts quickly from the philosophy training really helped with Shakespeare, and also tackling big ideas and also just reading things that were written by people hundreds of years ago, which I guess maybe not everyone does a whole lot. But in acting, you do often have to read things that were written a long time ago, and people have a different way of thinking and speaking back then. More interesting for me at the moment in my life is how has acting influenced my philosophy and the kind of content I make, which is to say, hugely. Not only because there's going to be more characters and weird stuff and poetry. I want to put more poetry in videos, and singing as well. I know some people love the singing, some people hate it. So the video I've got that's coming out next week, the first one I filmed in the big studio, has a big duet at the end of it where I sing and harmonize with myself. That's going to be quite cool. The whole thing's about split mind theory. So that's going to be good. That's going to be good fun. I think it's going to be really good. Thoughts about UBI, that's Universal Basic Income. Yeah, I don't know which way to jump on that. When I first heard of it, I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then I've heard some leftist critiques of Universal Basic Income. Bad Mouse has some good takes on that if you want to check him out. And I've also seen some people caution that it could be taken and sort of turned against us in a way. That corporations could, because some corporations are like, oh yeah, Universal Basic Income, that'd be good. And then some leftists were like, why are you standing? What's suspicious? Why do you want this? And then so the thought is maybe they could use it as an excuse to not pay people a living wage, basically, or not give people benefits, because that's what your UBI is for. So it depends how it was done, but I'm intrigued, and I definitely think automation is something that we need to think about. 11 hours, Michael Pisciarino says, yeah, the world is a big place. It's going to take me 11 hours to get to where I'm going, but I think it's definitely going to be worth it. Lucky says, what did you think about H. Bomberguy's latest video? I was really moved by it. Yeah, I was really very, very moved by that. I thought it was really good, and I'm looking forward to see where it goes. Where it goes next. Oh, someone says, what do you think about the PewDiePie situation? What's he done now? I don't know. I'm not. What's he done? I'm not caught up. What's he done? I don't know. On a lighter note, someone says, what do you think about Foucault? The Foucault I've read, I've liked. Sorry, there's a motorbike outside. The Foucault I've read, I've liked. For me, Foucault is a bit like coleslaw, in that I do like him. I like a cheeky bit of Foucault, a little cheeky bit of Foucault on the side, but I wouldn't want my whole meal to be Foucault, if you know what I mean. I wouldn't want just coleslaw on the plate. So a little bit of Foucault can just add something nice, but you don't want it to be just Foucault. Gotta have some spicy in there. Roma Cabana says, "Why does Dad never notice me?" I presume you're talking about me. In which case, hi Roma. thanks for stopping by. Justice for Harambe. Wow, that's an old meme. It's an old meme, sir, but it checks out. Oh, somebody says, what exactly does it? So, somebody says, what makes it difficult for you to go on a vegetarian diet? So I've said in the past that I think there are like good ethical reasons for being at least vegetarian. I recognize those, and I'm certainly like more vegetarian than I used to be. I go through phases of being like more vegetarian. Like various things make it a little bit difficult for me. One is like honestly the willpower thing. I am easily tempted when it comes to some things, and yeah, just find it difficult. Like habit and willpower is difficult. Another thing is that I don't always have a great relationship with my body and therefore with food. So making drastic changes to my diet is something that can mess with me in a little bit. In particular, at the moment, if I were to go vegetarian at the moment, it would scupper my gym goals. So for the last few weeks, I've basically just been eating like grilled chicken fillets and broccoli because I'm trying to. There's a specific kind of effect I'm trying to go for in at the moment, body wise. So it would sort of mess with that. I did for a while give up dairy because I thought, okay, if I was going to go vegan, what would be the toughest things to give up? Probably dairy. So maybe I'll just try getting off that for a couple of weeks. And also I heard that like I heard from Harry actually from HBomb that milk has a bunch of stuff in that's crap and you don't need. So I swapped out all my milk for soy. Harry would be very proud. I was a soy boy for like 2 weeks. And I don't know what it is, but there's something in milk must be good for my skin because my face really flared up. My acne got really bad in that 2 weeks. And as soon as I went back on the milk in tea and for cereal, it went away. And unfortunately, as an actor and to a lesser extent YouTube, but certainly to a big extent in terms of acting, I can't really have spots because otherwise I can't work. So I'm yet to find my way around that. But those are the sort of the things that are like that are holding me back. Somebody says, "What are you listening to on your headphones?" Just all of you. Just so in case any noise comes out of my computer or anything, I can hear it because you're plugged into my preamp, which is the same one HBomb got actually. I got it from him, and then you're plugged into this enormous thing here where you can hear my voice. So that's it. Apparently, PewDiePie made an out of a bad taste meme. Well, there you go. So far, Perdido says, "Where do you work as an actor?" Wherever they'll let me. Any theater, any recording studio, any set, they will let me work in. I will work there. But all of it pretty much within the city of, within or around the city of London. I did shoot a short film in Brighton a while ago, which was very lovely. We did 1 day's filming down there. And I was really proud because there was a take where I played a guy. It was about grief and masculinity. And I played a guy whose partner had died. And there was only one line in the whole film, and that was me going, "Hey," at the end. The only word that was spoken by me. But I had to do. There was this one shot where the partner is dead on the table in the hospital, and it was just like a close up on my face, and it was cheesy. It was cheesy, but I got like the single Hollywood tear. I did it in one take as well, and the director was just like, "Perfect, we got it." I was like, "Yeah." The film turned out pretty well. I was pretty pleased with it. But yeah. How much do you charge for voiceover work? It depends. I mean, so usually for acting, people will make you an offer, or it'll be listed in the casting thing. So I'll go on a casting website and they'll say, "We need somebody to do the voiceover job, and this is how much it pays." So it really varies a whole lot. So I guess I probably can't tell you exactly because it would be breach of contract, but the first voiceover job I did was I'm thinking about how to express it in terms of like how much of my rent for that month it was. Not very much. It was like a couple of weeks worth of food. Maybe a month's worth of food was about how much I was paid for my first voiceover job. And interestingly, and this is always really lovely when this happens as an actor, they've actually asked me to come back and do it again. So that's always really nice when that happens. And that happened to me again recently too, because I did a really fun commercial a while ago, and the director of that commercial contacted me and said, "Do you want to come back and do it again? Because we really enjoyed working with you." And that's always really nice when that happens as an actor. So I took a whole bunch of questions from the chat there, but what we were originally talking about was comment replies, and my video, "Why the Left Will Win." I'll do some more chat interaction later on. Anyway, getting back on track. A few people thought that the video I made, "Why the Left Will Win," was a little bit reductive in places, morphing reality and human rights for everyone. With two commenters who thought that it was a bit reductive. So the title "Why the Left Will Win," I knew that was a little reductive when I chose it. I was like, this is a very good like YouTubey title, but it is a little reductive. So I chose a punchy title, and I decided to work from there really. And as a few people pointed out, the argument I made was more that the left would never lose, rather than they would definitely win. And also, like, winning and losing, it was again a reductive framework to look at it from. So I guess that kind of ties more into the kind of capital R romantic nature of what I was going for with that. There was somebody who I didn't write down on the name of the commenter, but somebody asked, "Can you have a community that is both a community of vulnerability and a community of strength?" And I was like, "Oh wow, that never even occurred to me." And I think that's something I really should have gone into, because I think maybe you could be a community of strength or vulnerability relative to certain populations. And one really good example of this might be white feminism, capital W, white feminism, which would be a community of vulnerability relative to white women, but a community of strength where whiteness is interpreted as strength relative to others. So again, I think I was a bit reductive there, and you could maybe have both, and that was a really interesting angle on it. What are the other comments that we had? So a few people, Zara Zustra, Joe Lynn, and Augustus Bone among them, said that I conflated liberalism and the right wing in that video, and yeah, I did basically. It's not the first time I've done that, and for the particular distinction I was making in that video, I do think there is merit in doing that. I do think there is merit in like seeing them as closer than people often do. But in terms of the structure of that particular video, I can see how that made things less clear rather than more. So fair cop. Your mileage may vary on that one. What else did we have? Oh yes. So Neko Suki left this amazing comment. They said, "Are incels a community of vulnerability?" And I don't know. I think that's a very, very interesting question. I mean, it's one of those things where, from what I know of incels, it's a community that's very much about like the blame and vilification of women, but there is a nihilistic vulnerability to it as well. I was chatting with another creator a while ago who's planning a video on incels, and I won't name them in case they want that to be a surprise. But we were chatting about it, and the phrase that came to mind for me was "the gates of hell are locked from the inside," which sort of seems to describe the incel community in quite a big way. So I don't really know whether it's a community of vulnerability or a community of strength. Community of perceived vulnerability, somebody suggests in the chat. Yeah, maybe. Community of cringe. I'm not sure. So, but I do know that there's going to be what will almost certainly be a really, really good video on incels coming out soon from someone that we all know and love. So I'll be curious to see that when it comes out. So I guess a couple of other quick things that came up about the "Why the Left Will Win" video. I did put Jeremy Corbyn in the thumbnail, and a few people were like, "Why did you do that?" And I was like, well, I was looking for, I think I just Googled like left wing and saw what came up in images, looking for inspiration. And I know that there are people I know that Corbyn isn't the most left wing guy in the world. He's far left as far as British politicians go, but you can get further than that. So I am aware that some people were even like, "Why did you put him as a thumbnail for a video about the left? Like, is he any more social democrat?" And I see the point. Honestly, the only reason I chose him as the thumbnail was that he was doing that pose. he was just doing this really cool pose, and I was like, that's really funny. I'm having that. So he just was like, hey. So that was the only reason I chose it, and I didn't really think about it much beyond that. I should think more about my thumbnails. It's something I want to work on going forward as well. And the last thing that came up with that video was somebody, so I talked about the surgery I had a few years ago in that, and that got pretty graphic. And somebody requested, if you're going to talk about surgery, do put a content warning up, please. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, sorry. So apologies to if anybody was grossed out by me talking about surgery. I'll put content warnings and stuff up in future. That's something I'm trying to get better with. But yeah. Oh, love your videos. As a librarian, I have to ask, what's your favorite novel with philosophical themes? Ooh, depends what you mean by philosophical themes, doesn't it? There's a true philosopher's answer. I mean, I guess just some of my favorite novels. Mary Shelley's The Last Man is my favorite novel of all time. In my video about mental health and suicide, I'm going to be including a chunk of that because it's very, very important to me. In fact, there it is. There it is up on the shelf. Rubbing shoulders with Vladimir Nabokov's Ardor, which somebody was asking me about on a stream I did last night. So if I think some of you in the chat will be quite big fans of this if you've not heard of it already. I don't know if I can actually show all of it because the cover is just someone getting their boobs out. But if you've not read Ardor, Vladimir Nabokov is the same guy who wrote Lolita, Russian author. And what is the story about? So I guess the setting is really interesting. It's set in like an alternate version of the United States, which kind of deviated sometime around the kind of mid-19th, late 19th centuries. So Russia and America are one country in Ardor, for instance. And the planet isn't called Earth, it's called Demonia. But weirdly, there are a lot of people on Demonia who suffer from the same, what appears to be the same mental illness, where they like have hallucinations and distortions, where they hallucinate about this planet called Earth, where it's like it's our history, and nobody really knows how to explain this phenomenon. Because and everyone's like, well, they're mad. And it's like, yeah, but then how come so many of their delusions like complement each other and overlap? So that's interesting. But that's just the setting. The main story is this incredibly rich, decadent, privileged, awful, rotten, spoilt, and then later in the story, extremely violent and unpleasant, horrible little boy, Van Veen, falls extremely passionately and sexually and absolutely filthily, smuttily, and yet beautifully in love with his cousin, Ardor, who, it's not really a spoiler because they find out pretty much right at the start. He later finds out is his sister, Ardor, and they're like, well, never mind, let's just keep going anyway. And they do. So they have this love affair, which is torrid and described in Nabokov's eye for detail is just like so. There's this bit in it where he describes how Van notices the tiny hairs on the dimples on Ardor's back and is just spellbound by them. And I was reading that, I was like, wow, that's how I become infatuated with someone as well, as like the forensic eye of like a lover really, really studying somebody's body. So he really captures that so well. For somebody like me, big heart, capital R romantic, I really liked it. So I guess the themes of the book are like, if you like, can a horrible person like Van Veen still have beauty? Like, what is beauty necessarily counter to ugliness, or can ugliness and beauty actually reside in the same place? Because the love affair he has with Ardor is ugly in a lot of ways, and he's a very ugly guy in a lot of ways, morally, but at the same time has this beautiful, dreamy life, which is kind of undeniably kind of draws the reader in. So yeah, that's a good one. If you like extremely classy filth, then Ardor's a good one. What else is going on in the chat? I got a bit carried away there. Torrid, good Nabokov word, isn't it? It's very, very good. No Dostoevsky. Somebody says I need to read more Dostoevsky. I think. Yeah, Lolita is better than Ada. Somebody says. Yeah, I've not read Lolita. I probably should. Polara Bin asks, "Do you have any comment on Layman's response to your video?" Yeah, I already talked about it. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about the impact of music in politics? Ooh, I don't know. Every protest I go to seems to have some cool music going on. There's always like a salsa band. A while ago, I was at I don't know if I can talk about that. Anyway, a while ago, I was at a protest. Yeah, I was at a protest, and there was a band, samba or salsa. I forget. I get them confused. The ones with the drums. There was a big drumming band there, and they were really cool. They made a whole lot of noise because they were there to drown out the people that we were protesting against. So that was kind of cool, and the police sort of tried to shut them down and so on. So music, I think, can sometimes be pretty important. And actually, I remember this protest I went to a while ago in it must have been in February, and it was outside the Home Office, and it seems like a distant memory now, but it was freezing in February. It was like a snowstorm, and we were standing out there and I had foolishly chosen to make my protest sign out of metal, so my fingers were freezing, and it was really, really cold. And this sleet was coming down, and people were making speeches and so on, but were struggling to be heard. And meanwhile, the Home Office staff must have been sitting in their warm offices like, what are these people doing? So there was the band were there, and then the drummers started up, and it kind of really lifted everyone's spirits, and we were all kind of dancing and moving around. So that was really beautiful. That was really cool. I'm sure there's other ways that music can come into politics too, but yeah. So what else have I got? What other stuff have I done recently? Oh yeah, I did a video on Are Rules Made to Be Broken, which was quite a fun one. It was the last video that's fingers crossed, last video that's going to be filmed in this bedroom with the old bookcase. So I did that, and that was a fun one. A lot of people off the back of that said I need to watch an anime called Psycho-Pass. Erin Blackford, Afriking, and Treelane22 all recommend that I watch Psycho-Pass. So I'll put it on my list. Maybe I'll watch it on the plane. That'll be good. Apparently it's about like pre-crime and security and privacy and so on, so that could be cool. A few other people, the Crazy Wool Lady and coincidentally the Mad Lolita, said that it's pronounced NAACP, not NAACP. So sorry about that. Roma Cabana says, "Dad, we love your set." Yeah, it's not bad. I was strangely emotional. I think I might miss it. It's the old bookshelf, but I wanted to go for something a bit more professional, and also like a professional space that allows me to do more. So in the studio that I film in, it's just a white void. I put some preview shots on Twitter. It is just a white void, and there are some sound issues that I need to sort out for the next batch of stuff I film. So the first 2 episodes in the studio, the sound might not be like quite where I want it to be, but I'll work on it because I'm not used to filming in a studio space. But it allows me to do more things. So I can clone myself. I can have another me walk on screen and like talk to him and interact with him, which is fun. So the first episode I'm doing in there is about split mind theory, and I use the clone and kind of banter off him and so on. And then we sing. That's going to be fun. And I can just have like multiple camera angles in a way that I really can't in here. So you can only see a tiny part of this flat, this bit, but it's a really, really tiny flat. I can't really have multiple camera angles. The only other camera angle I've ever had was in my video about healthcare, where I had the shot of me in the bed, which was, yeah, it's really tiny in here. I can't really do much. And I had bigger dreams. I had like bigger dreams of videos I wanted to make. I wanted to have stuff with like dancing and all kinds of stuff, like multiple camera angles. I wanted to have like chats with myself and so on. Stuff that I've wanted to do for years, and then only really realized like what's holding me back when I came back from VidCon. So yeah, I'm gonna miss the old set too. I'll still live stream with it, and when I move to my new flat in September, I'll live stream from there too, and I'll probably take the old take the old bookcase with me, and maybe this silver button will get replaced with the gold one. Scary. But yeah, I'll still live stream from the old set. So if you're a big fan of it, Roma, then don't worry. You can just tune into the live streams and it'll be fine. So also off the back of the video I did on Are Rules Made to Be Broken, some people talked about the oh, by the way, I should just let you know, if the live stream cuts out for any reason, it's because there's a big thunderstorm. So just brace yourselves, just in case. Anyway, some people were interested in the phrase activists don't create conflict, they just highlight existing conflict. And that was a cool slogan that I found, I think somewhere in Kwame Ture. He must be somewhere around here. Maybe you're sitting on him, which was kind of cool. Although I do think that's an interesting and beautiful and illuminating idea. But a few people in the comments of that video had issues with it. And on reflection, I kind of see how adopting that as a slogan could be a little bit potentially politically dangerous. Because if you're adopting as your maxim, like activists don't create conflict, they only expose existing conflict, then the devil is in like who gets to decide what conflict is, right? So like neo-Nazis could say, oh, like we're not creating conflict, we're just like highlighting an existing conflict with our tiki torch marches. So as a maxim, I'm aware that it's kind of pretty vague. I mean, the reason some civil rights activists took it as their line is because they were accused of creating conflict, and activists often are, and we still see this today. People are like, "Yo, you're dividing the country. You're creating a divide. You're creating problems." And they were saying, "No, I mean it's already divided, and we just need to rethink the ways in which we are divided and the ways in which we're not." So I'm aware that as a slogan has legs, and I think maybe I could have said to explore that in a little bit more detail. I'm just going to turn towards you so you can see the light on my face a little bit more. It doesn't quite look so sinister with the books and the candles. Let's have a look at the chat a little bit more. There's a thunderstorm here in Durham too, says Abdullah. Oh, I wish I was in Durham. I was just back in the north a few days. I had this brilliant idea, right? It was so hot in London, I thought I'll go home to the north. I'll go home to Newcastle for a few days, let it all cool off. Came back and it was even hotter in London. I was like, oh. But yeah, it got to be yeah. I'm jealous that you're in Durham, thunderstorm or not. Oh, somebody says, if Bradley Walsh is the new Doctor Who companion, does the Chase exist in the Doctor Who universe? I don't know what the Chase is, or who Bradley Walsh is. I haven't really followed Doctor Who since Christopher Eccleston, since the Eccleston days. He's my favourite of the new Doctors, although David Tennant's still my favourite Hamlet. I went to see a production of Hamlet. I went to see a production of Hamlet at the Globe Theatre just a couple of weeks ago. It was really, really good, although Tennant is still my favourite Hamlet. Because I met a director a while ago who did some work for the RSC who said she's convinced that Hamlet is the story of a man who figures out that he's in a play and deliberately tries to sabotage the play. So that's why in the Ophelia scene he suddenly gets angry at her because he sees her with the book and they're looking very romantic, and he's like, this is the romance scene. I'm going to sabotage it by being a dick, which is an interesting way of looking at it. And I thought the Tennant version really captured that well with his vlogging. I thought that was really interesting. Like using the vlog as a device to soliloquize is something that I've experimented with in the past. If you ever watched my Shakespeare channel, which is now defunct, but you'll know that's something that I played around with. Yeah, I think that's an interesting device. And but anyway, I went to see this production of Hamlet at the Globe because somebody I know, an acquaintance of mine, was playing Claudius, and he was absolutely astounding. I mean, I'm used to thinking of Claudius as the sort of evil Patrick Stewart Claudius, kind of like the scheming brother of the king, the Uncle Scar. But the way James Garner is the actor's name, the way he played Claudius was just like, he was so sympathetic, and he played him as a guy who really genuinely loved Hamlet and wanted to do the right thing for him and help him out, but was just in this really difficult situation and like really wanted to help him. And Hamlet was like not giving him anything. It was like being a dick, and then like finally murdering Polonius. And he was like, what do you expect me to do, man? There was this amazing bit. So usually in Hamlet, the interval comes. If you know the story, Hamlet puts on a play, which is deliberately meant to it's deliberately about what he thinks Claudius has done, i.e., kill his brother, and he wants to watch Claudius and see whether he looks guilty. And the interval in Hamlet usually comes where Claudius gets sort of a fright of guilt, and he stands up and somebody says, "The king rises," and Claudius says, "Give me some light," and then usually that's when the house lights come up and you have the interval. But this time, he looked guilty, and Claudius stood up, and somebody went, "The king rises," and Claudius was just he looked at Hamlet and was like, "Give me some light," and walked off. And it was so good. Oh my word. I was just with Shakespeare, I often with Shakespeare, it's about the words, it's about the beautiful craft of the words, but so much was done in that silence. And I was like, oh, that is the heart of the character. It was an absolutely brilliant bit of acting. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. So yeah, go and see Hamlet if you ever can. It's brilliant. Somebody says, idea for a video: why do regular folks deny global warming when they have nothing to gain and everything to lose? So I was chatting with someone a while ago, and we were saying that environmentalism doesn't tend to be, well, I don't see it talked about all that much on YouTube. Maybe it's just kind of assumed. But the video I did a while ago on a flat Earth, or why do people deny science, would kind of tie into that, I think. So I probably just end up repeating myself if I did that. But yeah, that could be a fun one. Let's take some more. Evil Patrick Stewart is a great actor. He certainly is. Think I'll just keep asking what Ollie's tendency is. I don't know, man. I don't think I have a specific one. When people ask, I just say leftist, because it's more useful. Because I find that I know that there's a kind of a tendency towards taxonomy among the left, especially theoretical taxonomy, especially for those people like me who came to leftism through theory, which not everyone does. There is a tendency towards taxonomy, I think, but I think sometimes it can be more obfuscating than clarifying. So if I said, for instance, I believe in Marxism, Leninism, then some people are going to be like, oh, okay, cool. But probably more people will say, or whether it's Marxism, Leninism, or Maoism, or whatever it is, probably more people will have a false idea of what that means, and therefore be like, well, then you must agree with this, and I'll go, no, actually, that's not what that means, or no, I think that's good, but that's not so good. So I think sometimes out and out declaring yourself with a specific tendency can, not for everyone, but for somebody in my position who's job is to try and teach people stuff in a reasonably public way, I think it could sometimes get things off on the wrong foot. So yeah, I kind of don't really pick a label. Yeah, well, the only one that I go with leftist, and I go with feminist, because I think that one's important. But other than that, I try and avoid ascribing myself labels publicly when I can. So yeah. What's your favorite Shakespeare play? Julius Caesar. I've said it on the stream before. Mark Antony. He wakes up with a hangover. He goes to bed as one of the 3 rulers of the world, and that is a role that I definitely want to play, because that is a very exciting day in his life, and one that I would love to live on his shoulder. Let's have another look through the chat. Sorry, I'm just reading. So join the anti-tendency. I'm not sure whether Elani's question, "Do you watch ContraPoints?" was a joke, but yeah, I do. I got a really funny message the other day from somebody who bless them, used a picture of Nat as their profile picture and sent me a message. So I was like, why isn't Nat messaging me then? I was like, oh, Nat's changed her picture. And then they were messaging me saying, have you ever heard of this channel, ContraPoints? You should really work with it. And I was like, Yeah. I should work with them. I definitely should. I've seen their stuff before. Anyway, let's get off that subject. Who, in more opinion, is the most useless philosopher? Ayn Rand, definitely, every time. Um, yeah, definitely that. Somebody says, "Are all leftists socialists?" No, no. I might be about to offend some anarchists here. Well, I'll ask anarchists: would you include yourselves in leftists? I don't know. I'd be tempted to. I've met some pretty rad anarchists. They're often good fun at protests. Anarchists. They're good. They're good crack. They can be quite inspiring. Anarchists. Would you say that you were leftists? Because I guess anarchists and socialists not always agreeing on everything, but can definitely march under the same banner on occasion. What would Adorno think of your channel? Probably wouldn't like it. Probably mutter something dark about jazz. He'd probably think it was too flippant, really. Also, I did a review of the Dialectic of Enlightenment a while back and was like, yeah, it's good, but not great. So he probably wouldn't like that. He wouldn't like that very much at all. He's a millennial. He doesn't like labels. Yeah, fair enough. Some anarchists. Somebody says this anarchist is very much a leftist. Says Bash Clopton. Fair enough. And a bunch of other people said, "Will you ever do a video on Ayn Rand that isn't a joke?" Probably not, because it's been said, hasn't it? It's been done. It's been done before. I'm not going to rule it out. I never want to say never. But I don't have any active plans to do a video on Ayn Rand, really. I do have a really funny thing planned for April Fools. April Fools next year, if April Fools happens to fall on a day where I can get a video out. But it isn't about Ayn Rand, unfortunately. Anarchists inspire me to be a better leftist, says fellow Aiden. Yeah, I kind of know what you mean, actually. The anarchist books that I've read have been really thought-provoking and really challenging, and I found them to be useful. So yeah, I know what you mean. I know that feeling. And the anarchists who I've met and spoken to have often been pretty chill and pretty cool and interesting. So yeah. There was a great question earlier on, and favorite musicals, says Catwoman and Harley. Sunday in the Park with George. Sunday in the Park with George is a good one. I sang Finishing a Hat. Love that. Looking through the world of the hat like a window, back from this one to that. Yeah, I love that song. It's really good. I also have a big soft spot for Dr. Dolittle, the musical, because the song After Today. Love that song. Really good. After today, nothing will be the same again. Yeah, that's really good. That'll be fun. The Jazz Machine, says Louis Didcott. Yeah, there you go. So maybe I was just somebody says yes, singing. I'll try and keep the singing to a minimum because I'm not warmed up. Nighty says, how is your move going? So I'm hoping to move flat in September, early September. That's when the lease on this place goes. I'm going to be moving a little bit further into London. The rent's going to be a little bit cheaper, kind of relatively, because my rent recently doubled, as did all of my bills, because the person that was living in this flat with me, in this bedroom with me, moved out. So I'm going to be moving in September to a new flat, and I'm going to have flatmates, which is nice. I can now film in a professional film studio, so I don't need to worry about kind of disturbing my flatmates with filming. And I won't be on my own because obviously for the last month I've been living on my own, which is has its pros and cons. But the move. I've got a lot to do for the move. I've got to get rid of a lot of my furniture, which is going to be kind of a pain in the ass. The move should hopefully be fun. About the dialectic of enlightenment, the good parts are really good. Yeah, there were some really, really fun bits. Yeah, I had some pretty big. So I actually got rid of my copy of the dialectic of enlightenment. I sent it to a fan. I sold it to a fan, and it's got all my notes in the margins. So if you are the fan who has my copy of the dialectic of enlightenment, you'll know what my problems with it are. Probably better than I can remember them at this stage. But somebody says, do you have any plans on making a video about phenomenology? Also, I love you. Thanks, Paul Aguilar. I love you too. But yes, I do have plans to make a video about phenomenology. In fact, I was editing it today because the 2 videos that I've filmed so far in the professional studio are about split mind theory. The tentative title is like, Why Do I Hate Myself? Like my space self. And then the second video I filmed in there is about solitary confinement and what that tells us about the theory of mind. And there's a chunk in that about phenomenology, because phenomenology can illuminate some of the experiences of prisoners in solitary confinement. So yes, Paul, there will be some stuff about phenomenology coming soon. It's mainly focused on the solitary confinement, but there will definitely be some stuff about that. Yeah. There will definitely be some stuff about phenomenology, so that'd be cool. Where do you stand on John Rawls's political philosophy? So this is a fun one. You'll probably have noticed, if you've been watching the channel for a long time, that I've never done a video about John Rawls on PhilosophyTube. But if you go and watch PBS Idea Channel's video on John Rawls, which is excellent, really, really brilliant video they made on John Rawls. Just put PBS Idea Channel John Rawls into YouTube. Yeah, the writing for that episode was really, really good. I don't know who the writer for that episode was, but whoever he is, he's probably very handsome and deserves a medal. But yeah, I co-wrote the Idea Channel episode on John Rawls with Mike Rugnetta, which was a dream come true for me to work with PBS Idea Channel. That was a couple of years ago now. So if you want to know what I think about John Rawls, just go and watch that video, basically. Yeah, Mike Rugnetta, if you're not aware of Mike is a creator, a creator of like unparalleled genius, and a wonderful, wonderful human being, and a man that I'm like privileged to call my friend. And interestingly, should I say this? Yeah, it'd be fine. Mike was the first person to get me to read Marx, because when I met Mike for the first time, we were having a chat, we had a few pints, and I said, who are your favorite philosophers? Who do you like? And he went, oh, I'm a Marxist. And I was like, huh. And then I was like, I'd never read Marx. I was quite young at the time. And I was like, well, if Mike likes it, should give it a go. And then picked it up, and life has never been the same since. So we can all blame Mike. So yeah, it'll be cool. I'll give the chat a chance to build up some cool questions. Thank you for the love people are sending me. So what else did I have to chat about? Oh yes. So the video I did on Are Rules Made to Be Broken? There was this really cool comment by somebody who had quite a difficult name to pronounce. It was like Bamish Shijifi 123, said that laws can be bad, but that is a political issue, not an enforcement issue. Like the enforcement of the laws is politically neutral. And I was like, oh, I disagree so strongly with this in such a big way, because like, if the law is inherently political, which like if the law is set by politicians, if it is like political, then the enforcement of the law must also be political, because the enforcement is just like the practical arm. It's the praxis to the theory. I mean, you wouldn't say that political protests, like activists, are just enforcing political theory. They're not actually doing political stuff. Like, of course they're being political. The police are there to use violence on behalf of the state, and ideally the state represents the will of the people, but it doesn't always happen. So police officers, I think, are inherently political agents. Like, there are no politically neutral law enforcement agencies, even if they were very politically diverse, and even if they kind of spread their attention equally over all the people in a country. Like, the enforcement of the law is inherently political. And I think one of the clearest examples of this is that when the Nazis invaded France, the French collaborators, well, the French Nazis, set up a collaborationist government, the Vichy government, in order to collaborate with the Germans. And a whole lot of new laws were passed restricting the rights of Jews, obviously, but also women and of trade unions and of LGBT people. And those laws were enforced by French police, who in some cases enforced them independently, and some cases like actively aided the Gestapo and ran joint operations with them. And you can actually you can find historical footage of French Jews who've been rounded up and are waiting to get on the trains, and they are being guarded by French gendarmes, by armed police, who were just following orders and just following the law, which is an inherently political act. And when France was liberated, the collaborators, a lot of them, thousands of them, were dragged out into the streets and shot. Although many escaped, and it took decades for the French Nazi hunters to bring some prominent collaborators for justice, but to justice rather. So yeah, the enforcement of the law, I think, like, is definitely a political act. Like, I don't think we can say that law enforcement and passing of laws are separate at all. I'm curious. It's just a vague idea at the moment, but I want to do an episode on complicity and on like just following orders, and when we can have a moral duty to resist or like disobey orders. Could end up being quite timely. Somebody says, is Zizek actually interesting, or is this stuff just for edgy boys? So the video I have planned on Elon Musk does have a bit of Zizek in it, because I do think Zizek's concept of disavowal is really, really interesting. And I've got a cool bit for that video planned where I explain Zizek's concept of disavowal by talking about flirting. So that's going to be fun. I do think there can be some Zizek which is useful. So yeah. Yeah, I think some Zizek can be quite interesting. I understand that sometimes it's just like he just can be edgy. But yeah. I'm just scrolling through them, just scrolling through the chat again. Somebody says, how do you balance work and play? Poorly. I tend to do either one or the other for very long stretches of time and then feel bad about it in one way or another. So for basically the last sort of 72 hours straight, I've just been editing. There are like, because I now live alone, I have a lot more time on my hands, which means I just like work. I just fill that time with work, really. So yeah, poorly is the answer to that. I basically just will just stay and like edit all day, apart from going to the gym, and then that's it. But then also I will do like whole weeks where I'll like not even apply for any acting jobs and not make any YouTube stuff, and just can't just party for like a week straight. So badly is the answer, Mossy Croak, to how I balance work and play. Okie dokie. Let's just clean up the chat a little bit. Elon Musk is going to move to Mars after your video. I very much doubt that he'll watch it. Somebody says, get on a podcast. You have a lot to offer. People have been asking me to do podcasts for a while, but I don't know if I will, because I think there are like enough cishet white guys with. There's enough people like me anyway with podcasts. Nicholas Innocent Quine says, how do you deal with failure? Again, rather poorly. So, man, I'll tell you this. Yeah, it's fine. It's cool to be open and honest with your failings. So when I hired this professional studio, it's pretty expensive, but I put down the money and I went there for the day and I filmed all day. It was like a 12-hour day in the studio. It was a lot of work and it was challenging because I'd never worked in a studio before. I'm used to filming here, and it had some hiccups. And then I got back to the flat, and it was like 30 degrees, and I was sweating. So I realized I'd left the cable that connected my laptop to my camera in the studio. So 3-hour round trip, I went all the way back, got back. When I got back, I realized all the footage I'd shot that day was completely unusable. and I actually had to go into the studio for a second day. Not the next day, but I had to like arrange it with them, and really only got in there like a couple of days ago and did it better. But I was obviously like very upset that had happened. I was like, oh man, that was a very depressing very depressing day. And obviously like I got back to an empty flat and like had to cook like a grilled chicken breast for dinner and was like, what a day. So that was bad. I don't tend to deal with failure that well, but I'm getting better and pick myself up, and the episodes themselves will be really good. I think. I hope so. Anyway, it should be good. Yeah, still going through the chat again. Would you ever film your creative process? I don't know if there'd be much to film. It would probably be pretty boring. It would just be me at a laptop being like for ages, or just reading a book and highlighting it. Let's just remove some people from the chat there. That should be a little better. But yeah, so I don't know if there'd really be much to film. It'd just be me writing and reading. Although I have recently hired a research assistant. John, the LitCrit guy, is going to be helping me do some research. He's helping me research my video on airports and security and so on. So hopefully now that I've got a research assistant, I can cover wider topics, stuff that I wouldn't normally do. So yeah. Lenny Majorama says, can you give me tips on keeping your beard trimmed and tidy? Yeah, just get a beard trimmer. Yeah, that'd be cool. Do that. Ivan Nicoletta said, are you excited when your costumes come from the stage designer? Does it help getting into character? So the stuff I've done, actually, no, I have done stuff with like proper stage and costume designers. Yeah, it does definitely. Like costume can really help. In fact, the big play I did, in fact, all the plays I've done recently, as soon as I got the costume, the character like really took on a new level, which I love. I did a play recently at RADA in school, in the big drama school in London, and my costume in that was really useful. And when I played Pontius Pilate in that play as well, the big Roman armor helped. And it was funny actually. When I was filming in the studio the other day, I had a guy who was there assisting me, and I put on a different costume to play my clone who comes on the screen. And after we got done filming, he was like, "Have you done acting before?" I was like, "Yeah." How do you know? And he's like, "Well, when you put on that suit and the costume, you just like you totally changed in the way you like look and move." And I was like, cool. Wasn't even like aware that was happening, but yeah. Somebody says do a podcast with Ash Sarkar. Maybe. I actually saw her once at a protest, but she didn't recognize me. So maybe if Ash ever wants to collaborate, we could have a chat. I'm still scrolling through the chat here. Let me just see. It's going past all pretty quickly. Can you please make a video explaining why my specific type of leftism is better than every other one? Yes, I can. So here we go. This is a good thing to talk about. JP Fanboy says, can I send you a book that is not on your wish list? So I have a rather exciting announcement, which is that me and H Bomber Guy are getting a PO box, a joint PO box, as of September when I move to my new flat, because it's registered to my new address. You will be able to send me stuff and also him stuff, and it's all going to get sent to me, and then I'm going to have to meet up with him periodically and give him his mail. So please, if you send H-Bomb anything through the PO box, it's just going to be called like Ollie and H-Bomb's PO box. If you send him anything, please make sure it's not perishable, or anything that's going to like get me arrested for it being sent to my house. But me and H-Bomb are going to get a joint PO box. I am gonna, although I suppose there's technically nothing I can do to stop you, I'm gonna request that people don't send me books that aren't on my wish list, because otherwise I will just have a pile of books. So people ask me all the time, like, can I send you a book? A lot of the time people send me, can I send you books that I've written and so on. And basically, unless it's on my wish list, I'm not gonna have time to read it, because when I read, I read like for the show, and I read stuff like I have to read. And like, I don't really have a whole lot of time to read for pleasure, although like, all the reading I do is pleasurable because I enjoy working on the show for you all. But yeah, I'm just not going to have time to read it, and I'm going to have a big pile of books that are just going to end up in a charity shop, really, probably. So yeah, so you can send me books that aren't on my wish list, but really, probably you'd be wasting your money. Yeah, but me and H-Bomb, we are gonna get a joint PO box, which I'm really, really excited about. Yeah. Somebody says, how long are your videos in Word pages? Let me open up my script on Elon Musk right now and see how long it is, and I'll be able to tell you. Okie dokie. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. It's not quite done yet, not including like that there might be a song at the end. I want there to be a song at the end, plus a bit of extra stuff. So yeah, 7 or 8 pages, but I think depends on stuff like on their font and so on. So there you go. Yeah, still scrolling through the chat here. Let's have a cheeky look. Somebody says, I'm thinking of applying to the University of Edinburgh to get my MA in politics and philosophy. Do you have any thoughts? Edinburgh's really good. Edinburgh's nice city to live in, although every August, of course, the population triples in size because of the fringe, so you'll have to deal with that. And the rent's pretty expensive. But yeah, Edinburgh was my backup choice, actually. Yeah, I nearly went there and would have been very happy there. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely place to be. Lots of really nice restaurants in Edinburgh. Really nice restaurants. I know it quite well. It's gorgeous. So yeah, it would be a good choice to have a really good philosophy department. You can go and see the big statue of David Hume and touch his toe, which is apparently good luck. So, oh, Soy Sauce, nice name, says, did you read Capitalist Realism yet? Yes, I have read Capitalist Realism. This is the thing. I put it on my wish list and then bought a copy of it myself and left it on my wish list. And now somebody, a very lovely fan of the show, has sent me a second copy of Capitalist Realism, which is currently sitting on my kitchen table. So I can't remember their name at the moment, but thank you so much to the person who sent me my second copy of Capitalist Realism. That's entirely my fault, and you're exceedingly generous for doing that. But yes, I have read it. Yes, I really liked it, and I found it useful for. I found it really useful for multiple episodes of the show that I'm making at the moment. So yeah. Ollie, did you root for England in the World Cup? Yes and no. Yeah, I mean, like, it's weird how much I got like sucked into the World Cup. Because there's a pub just across the road from me where I was listening every time there was a game on. It was like, it should be finished about now. And then on the night that we played Croatia, I was like, it got to about 9:30, and I was like, game should be finished any moment, but I've not heard anything. I was like, yeah, I think we've gone out. Whereas when we went through to the semi-finals, when we beat I forget who it was that we beat in the quarterfinals now. I heard this huge from across the road, and all the neighborhood went nuts. People were beeping their horns and so on. But so kind of, yeah. But at the same time, the neighborhood I live in was formerly a big stronghold for the British National Party. It's a very, very right-wing neighborhood where I am. So like you can't really go into a public bathroom here without there being a swastika on the wall. And it's pretty rough. And the thing is, so the British National Party were preceded by another organisation who were called the National Front, and they adopted the England flag as their logo, which was unfortunate because there are now in the UK some people who are like, what do you mean the England flag is just like a flag of England? But there are some people who were alive, who are still alive, for whom it's a kind of symbol of terror, where, you know, if somebody's flying an England flag or has an England tattoo, you're like, maybe they're about to spit at you in the street, so or worse. So I understand that the duality of the kind of the semiotics of the England flag. And obviously when the World Cup is on, there's a lot of England flags decked out everywhere. That's kind of like the one time of year when it's acceptable for kind of anyone to have it. But in this neighborhood, when I see people flying the England flags, I get a bit worried, because I'm like, are you a football supporter, or did you used to be part of the National Front? So, yeah, I both did and didn't support England in the World Cup. I supported them out of a sense of sort of patriotic obligation. Not a big football fan. And also, I was like, I really hope that we don't go through to the final against France, because like whether we win or lose against France in the final, the neighborhood's going to go nuts, and I really don't want that. So yeah. Mossy Croak says, have you ever been to the USA? Yeah, I was there just like 2 or 3 weeks ago for VidCon in California. It's rad. It's really, really good. Yes. Is the next video specifically about Elon Musk, or is he just a pretext to a wider subject? So the next video is not about Elon Musk. The Elon Musk video is going to be at least a month in the future, at least. And it's kind of about him, but also about wider stuff as well. So yeah, I talked about it a little bit more at the start of the stream, if you want to go back. Audible Anarchist, hello, nice to have you here. Says, would you be open to providing scripts of your videos for transcription and translation? Yeah, I would. The thing is, my scripts are often like a rough guide. I often ad-lib and go off piste. So I'm not sure how useful they would actually be. A while ago, somebody did ask for the transcript of my philosophy of Antifa video so that they could use it for pamphlets in the US, which was really cool. They wanted to like take some sections of it and print them as like official anti-fascist literature. So I was like, official anti-fascist, no such thing, but that was cool. So I do it sometimes, but to do it every time, I think I would need to hire somebody. And right now I don't really have the money for that, unfortunately. But people do still translate it and put subtitles on, which I'm like incredibly, incredibly grateful for the people who put in the work to do that. Thoughts on The Hague / the Netherlands, says Voz Jules. Yeah, so for those of you who weren't aware, I was in the Netherlands a while ago. I went to The Hague to deliver a lecture on the ethics of AI in warfare, which went really well. Thank you to all the people who watched that and tolerated the poor sound quality. And stuck around to the end with that interesting questioner. I really enjoyed The Hague. You know the oddest thing I noticed about The Hague. So there's a restaurant chain here in the UK, in Europe, called Jamie's Italian. It's run by Jamie Oliver, and in the UK, Jamie's Italian is like middle of the road. Nothing fancy. Kind of not a great restaurant. It wouldn't be your first choice, right? If you were going somewhere on a nice, if you were taking somebody on a date and you wanted to impress them, you wouldn't take them to Jamie's Italian, right? If you were going to the theater at 7:30 and it's 6 o'clock and you want just a quick bite to eat, Jamie's Italian, right? Or the movies or whatever. But so when I flew into The Hague, I met up with the people who were handling the conference, and they took me to Jamie's Italian, and I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But it was really, really good. Like, it was a totally different beast than the stuff we have here in the UK. Totally, completely different. And it was really, really tasty. And I thought, I was like, why are your Jamie's Italians so good in the Netherlands? And he was like, I don't know. We thought they were all like this. And I was like, no, this is a really nice restaurant. This is delicious. So, yeah, that's what I think about The Hague. Oh, and also Stroop waffles. Oh, food of the gods, Stroop waffles. They gave me a little pack of them like for free as like a welcome gift. I was like, no. Took some back and had them with tea. It was gorgeous. Let's have another look. So I'm probably going to stick around for another 10 minutes or so because I'm getting really thirsty and it's like 30 odd degrees. And then after that, I'm going to probably go and mix myself some gin. Hang on a second. Sorry, my phone's just blowing up. So I'll probably stick around for 10 more minutes and I'll take some questions from the chat. Until then, Theron? Hi, Theron. Hi, welcome along to the chat. Oh, it's nice to have you here. Hi, Theron. Thanks for coming along. Nat's told me all about you. I hope we get a chance to meet soon. If I make it out to Vancouver. Welcome along. Nice to have you here. Oh. I'll take a few more questions in the chat and then I'm gonna mix myself a gin. I'm really sore today as well. I've been going too hard in the gym because I've been training a lot recently, partly because I have, again, like a lot more free time now that I suddenly live alone. And like no incentive to stay in bed anymore in the morning. So I just go to the gym when it's really early. But I've been going too hard in the gym and I've been training as well because I'm going on a trip soon and I want to look good. So I've really sore. I did arms and shoulders today, and now I was like lifting a plate earlier on. I was like, oh God. So I need a bit of a rest. Somebody says, "Are you religious or are you an atheist?" I don't believe in God. I'm not religious. I was raised loosely milk toasty Christianish, but in such a way that it wasn't a big deal when I dropped it. Funnily enough, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, I went through a kind of Hitchens Dawkins fanboy phase. Like I look at some of the right wing, excuse me, classical liberal creators on YouTube now, and I'm like, there, but for the grace of God went I, because I was really into it. And it was in my sort of first or second year at uni. I think I'd even already started making the YouTube channel, so all the seeds were planted. I read. Can I say which book it was? Yeah, go on. I read Sam Harris's book, The End of Faith, and I was like, I'll try and be nice. I didn't think that book was great, and I was like, if this book isn't great, maybe a lot of them aren't great. And I went back and revisited a lot of them and was like, huh. I'm not really into the kind of like capital A atheism thing anymore. Like something's not right about this. And then that coincided with that coincided with two other things. One was meeting Mike Grignetta at kind of roughly the same time, and him telling me that I should pick up Marx. And one was I always remember this. It was so clear to me. I was sitting in a pub with three mates, two girls and a guy, and the guy got up and he went to the bar, and then one of the girls said to the other one, he's creepy, isn't he? And the other one went, yeah, he really is. And I overheard. I was like, what do you mean? And one of them said, he's got a problem with women. And it was on the tip of my tongue. I was about to say something along the lines of, I've never seen him do anything like that. That doesn't sound like him. I've never seen him do anything creepy. And then it suddenly hit me. I was like, but I wouldn't see that because it only happens when I'm not around. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then that was the moment of me like realizing, far too late, obviously, but better late than never, that I was like, I should really listen to some feminists and read some feminist books. Because like, I actually can't get access to everything on my own. So those were the kind of the three seeds of my SJW flowering. Were those three incidents. Was Mike Grignetta telling me about Marx, me being fortunate enough to have these two friends who felt comfortable in front of me having this conversation, and realizing I didn't like Sam Harris's writing were the three things that sent me off. So yeah, that's that. People are just slagging off Jamie Oliver in the chat now. Oh no, I feel bad. I'm sorry, Jamie, if you're watching. I know he's a big fan of the show. Yeah. Terry Eagleton gang. Yeah, I read a bit of Terry Eagleton too, and quite liked him. Somebody says, "How old is Ollie?" I'm 25. People are always like, "Wow, I thought you were older." Actually, you know what? This struck me recently. When I was out in California, I met Scutch Draws on Twitter. Very, very talented artist. My son, Scutch Draws, and he drew a picture of me and him and Natalie, and in the picture you can see that he's included my grey hairs. And I was like, that's really good attention to detail. But I was like, somebody else has noticed. And I was chatting to somebody in California at VidCon as well, and they kind of looked at my hair and they're like, "You've got a lot of grey hairs back here." And I was like, "All right." But I'm quite proud of my white hairs. I quite like them. But yeah, people have started to notice. I am 25 only, but the beard. It's the beard. The beard makes me look older. Yeah. Let's take a few more questions, and then I need a drink. Have you read any Bachelard? No, I'm afraid I haven't. Sorry. Is it worth learning about fascist philosophy in order to criticize it? Probably, yeah. I mean, so whenever people say, "Why don't you cite any right wing thinkers on the show?" I'm always like, I cited Carl Schmitt like multiple times. The man's a literal Nazi, and that's so. Yeah, it's probably worth learning about it. just so you, at least so you can spot it when they're trying to sell it to you. Somebody says, what feminist book, Mossy Crook, what feminist books do you recommend? Do I have it? No, I don't have a copy of it here. So Susan Faludi wrote a book called Backlash, which is a history, not of feminist progress, but of all the times that like women's rights have been taken away. And that's like the backlash. And that I found really interesting. That was good. I also really recommend Silvia Federici's book, Caliban and the Witch. Oh, lovely. I really want to do, for Halloween, I really want to do a video on witchcraft and philosophy that I would, I'd love it to be a collaboration with someone. That would be a lot of fun because I'm sure there'd be a lot of great opportunity for costumes and so on. Whoa. My silver play button almost fell over. So yeah, I'd love to do a video on witchcraft and incorporate that as part of it. I've seen people divided over Simone de Beauvoir's book, The Second Sex. I got a lot out of it. It's aged badly in some ways. Well, not aged badly, but it has aged in some ways. So it's not the kind of authority that it used to be. But I found it very useful, at least. Although, obviously I read it as a man, so some of it might be a little obvious. But yeah, those would be three good places to start, and all of them like pretty, pretty decent, good places and accessible places to start as well. Tips on motivating yourself to write. Depends what I'm writing. So lately I've been really inspired writing scripts for the show, but I'm also writing a play at the moment, which I sort of left to languish a little, or left to mature, shall we say. I revisited it for the first time today. So obviously the next question people are going to ask is, can we see it? And maybe someday, if it's ever written and then produced, is the answer to that. But yeah, tips on motivating yourself to write. I mean, just like follow the joy, really. Follow the curiosity. Were you a good student in school? Yeah, I was a real nerd. I worked really hard, and I had a real stick up my ass about it as well. I don't only did I work hard, I was one of those people who would let everyone know how hard I worked, because I thought it was important. And at university as well, I used to do all the week 1 reading in Freshers Week, all the week 2 reading in week 1, all the week 3 reading in week 2. So I would always be like a week ahead, and I would get my essays done like a month ahead. Yeah, I was a good student because yeah, I can talk about that. So my family was very academic. Both my parents were top of their year at university. I have 2 older brothers, both of whom were top of their years at university twice. They have 2 degrees each. So when I went to university, it was kind of, I don't want to say expected. Like my parents didn't like loom over me, like, you must do this. But I felt, at least, I gave myself a certain degree of pressure to do well. So I kind of had to work hard. Basically, it wasn't really an option for me to be anything less than exceptional, I felt. Somebody says you've been doing YouTube since you were a teenager. Just after I was a teenager, I started YouTube when I was 20, just 20. I think it was the summer I turned 20. So yeah, I started researching it before my 19th birthday. The beard is very Tony Stark, but in a good way. Yeah. So I grew the beard. The thing is, there's a lot. When you're an actor, you meet a lot of people who look exactly like you. There's a lot of actors in London who are TDH is the industry shorthand, tall, dark, and handsome. There are a lot of guys who are white and over 6 foot with dark hair and dark features, like I am. But and a lot of guys who have like another scraggly few days growth beard. But there are very few actors with the goatee. So I grew it out to play Thomas Mowbray in Richard II, and everyone loved it. So I just kept it. So it's also really it's like contouring, but like with facial hair. It's quite good. If I'm on stage, you can see my features a lot clearer when I have the beard than you can without. Somebody says, "What is your most controversial opinion?" talking in the quiet coach of trains. It's inexcusable. That's my most controversial opinion. Yeah. He looks like reincarnated Jesus, says somebody. Funny you should say that, because a while ago I was in a play where Jesus was one of the characters and I was his understudy. I had to be crucified. I was crucified like 3 times in rehearsal. It's really funny actually, because the guy who was playing Jesus was about half a foot shorter than me, and like skinnier. I was like a slightly more buff Jesus. And when the Roman soldiers got me down off the cross, they were older guys. They needed like 2 extra guys to carry me. They're like, well, I really hope the understudy doesn't have to go on, because otherwise we've got to change the whole scene blocking, because they're going to get 2 other guys to get him down off the cross. Otherwise he's just going to poof. So yeah, I do look a little bit like reincarnated Jesus, and you're not the only person to point that out. Contour game strong. He doesn't look a thing like Jesus, but he talks like a gentleman. 6-pack ? Sadly not. Working on it. Probably will be working on it for a long time. Yeah, sadly not in this case. Not yet. He doesn't look a thing like Jesus, but he talks like a gentleman. Buff Jesus 2018. Okay, these questions are... Oh, it's Alec from the Anaheim meetup. Hello, Alec. I'm just about to leave, but it's nice to see you again. There's basically just questions that I'm not going to answer at this point. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Theron, if you're still around. Hope to see you soon in Vancouver, maybe at some point, or if you ever come over to the UK. Yeah, thank you to everyone else who stopped by. I've got some really cool things planned for the next couple of weeks of the show. So next Friday, the first episode I filmed in the studio comes out. That's going to be about like split mind theory. That's going to be good fun. And I can't say too much about it, but there's probably going to be at least a couple other things happening over the next couple of weeks. Maybe the odd stream. Yeah, well, yeah, I won't say any more than that. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled on Twitter for exciting new things happening in the future. Thank you all for stopping by. I hope to be doing more streams where I go through comments and take questions from the chat in the near future. So have a lovely, lovely night, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.